Now that's good history.
Hi, everybody. On today is Toast to History, Episode 3. We're going with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan? The actor? Who's his vice president? Jerry Lewis? If you can guess the movie, comment below. 40th President of the United States, Governor of California, Captain of the Army Reserve. His early life, he was born and raised in Illinois. He was called Dutch by his dad. Why? Because the dad thought he was kind of portly looking and he thought he looked like a Dutch boy. Later in life, Ronald embraced this name, thinking that Dutch sounded a lot more masculine than Ron. He left out the Dutch boy part. He was a lifeguard, and there's in Dixon, Illinois, there is a statue of him there because he reportedly, as a lifeguard, saved 77 lives. Now, some report that there were women out there who jumped in on purpose trying to get his attention, but we have no statistics on that. Wait a minute. My dad's a Cubs fan. I have to do this right. All right. At the radio show, they had him announcing Cubs games. Well, what was interesting was he was never at the game. He was in studio. By Morse code, they would send him what was happening, and then he would portray it on the radio. One particular day, though, the Morse code went down. Nothing was coming from the game. So he embellished a series of foul balls for a good 12 minutes until he was able to get the final play and carry on with the game. This impressed people so much, not just the story, but how well he did, that the Cubs were actually spring training down in Southern California. So that we're going to send you to the actual game and you do your show on the road. And he ended up getting a deal with Warner Brothers. You know Warner Brothers, they're still kind of a big deal. But let's continue this. He played the Gipper. Now, if you looked at his baby, his golden boy, his favorite movie that he liked doing was Newt Rockne All-American. This was his dream role. He wanted to be in this movie. So this is the only one he actually sought out. And hey, it's a close one to my heart too. Notre Dame boy, Newt Rockne, South Bend, win one for the Gipper. Love it. Reagan's Army life was rather standard. He signed up for the Cavalry, Army Reserve, but he couldn't pass the test because he had poor eyesight. So, the recruiter liked the sound of his voice, so they sent him to Fort Roach. Roach was actually the stage name. He was actually became a narrator for many of the Army's training videos and even starred in a few. So, they called it Fort Roach. A lot of people gave him hell about this. You got to the rank of captain, but you never saw any military experience. Were you even in the Army? Hey, he signed up, just like many well-blooded Americans after Pearl Harbor. He wanted to serve. That's where they sent him. That's where they put him. What you gonna do? His move to Hollywood was very successful for Ronald Reagan. He was in over 50 projects, but sadly no Oscar. Now, some of his big movies were Bedtime for Bonzo. He was nearly killed on set by the chimpanzee. He was supposed to wrestle and catch this chimpanzee. The chimpanzee, during this, caught onto his tie and actually almost broke his neck. Other movies that are very pivotal in his career was Hellcats of the Navy. This is the only movie where him and his wife Nancy were actually on the film. It would be her last film, so it's another one that you should look and check out, because I can't think of any other one where you have both the First Lady and the President on screen that's not a cameo. So for all you who are in quarantine and you've run out of your binge watching, I'd say look these movies up. And you're welcome. Twice he was president of the Actors Guild because he decided, I'm going to start getting into politics. And he started with acting politics. Being head of the Actors Guild There was a Red Scare going on where they thought communists were infiltrating Hollywood and using films as the face to their dealings. So, being the head of the Actors Guild, they went to him to be an FBI informant and try to find these leaks. Now, he gave his names, but he also, being part of the president of the Screen Actors Guild, defended a lot of the actors who were not getting work. And he was like, nobody with a political affiliation should be hated on. We are a democracy. We have been promoting free speech. Democracy can handle it. Go lenient on them. He decided that he wanted to get further into politics. Now, FDR was a childhood hero of his, so he was a Democrat. He was a liberal, Democrat. They fit hand in hand. Now, like FDR, he worked on his speeches and he tried to imitate FDR, which is so funny. That's who our last guy was in episode 2. So if you have not seen episode 2, I would see that, then come back. So, hero, Democratic Party. He wanted to be part of it. But they seemed like they found no room for him in the Democratic Party. So he was quoted as saying, I didn't leave the party left me. So, later, he faces Jimmy Carter when he runs for president. Carter beat Ford. They weren't going to run Ford again. After him pardoning Nixon, Ford was dead in the water. So, they haven't faced Jimmy Carter. Gas prices were high. Economy was not good. The hostage situation. Many reasons why people didn't think Carter had the backbone for the job. So, when Reagan steps up to the podium and says, are you in the place you wanted to be 4 years ago? Carter just didn't have it. Reagan ends up winning 43 states and by 8 million votes and taking the presidency and becoming our 40th president of the United States. I always feel this kind of messed up. You didn't like Ford because you wanted the common man, Jimmy Carter. 4 years later, we don't care you're the common man. We want the actor. I think it's kind of messed up. Shows you one reason why I'm doing this channel. Seems like we have a love and hate and we're kind of fickle when it comes to our presidents. Ronald Reagan, one of his important policies was first he appointed the first woman Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Sandra O'Connor. Wait a minute. Your hero was FDR, and he promoted the first woman to his cabinet. Proud of you, man. Proud of you. Now, Reagan kind of like Grant did to Lee, where he knew he had more men, more money, and more resources than the South. He's like, you know what? I think I have more men, more resources, and more intelligence than the Soviets. So I'm going to pretty much do the same thing. I'm going to build. They have to catch up with me, and we're going to wear them out. And that's exactly what they did. Now, the problem with this was the Soviets knew with their technology, if they fired a missile, they had to fire at least probably 4 hours or more ahead of us because our missile would knock them out before they even got off the ground. And that's what was scary. Would they take this initiative first, knowing they couldn't retaliate if we did it first? So, Reagan decided to go with the Star Wars program. What this Star Wars program was to counteract this event. This was, okay, when they shot the missile up, our laser from space would shoot the missile. Now, was this going to work? Most experts says no. They had no plans for this. This was something Reagan wanted to do. We had not the technology. This wasn't going to work. But Reagan held up his cards and waited for the Russian Mikhail Gorbachev to call his bluff. And he never did. And they knew they could not keep up with us on the ground barely. We're not going to keep up with you in space. So it was the final nail in the coffin, even though they didn't say it, for the end of the Cold War. And this guy, whether he knew it or not, achieved it. You can't talk about Reagan without talking about his speeches. He was the great communicator after all. And let me tell you, I am not him. I'm going to give you my best shot. So, the Berlin Wall speech. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. You have the Challenger speech, as they prepared for their journey and waved goodbye and slipped the surly bounds of the earth to touch the face of God. Or a speech at the 40th anniversary of D-Day. 40 years ago at this moment, the air was dense, and the smoke and cries of men, and the air was filled with the crack of rifle fire and the roar of cannon. I suggest you YouTube these, and I'm telling you, you're going to try and hold back your tears. They're very moving speeches. This man, whether you like him or not, most people did. You look at his approval rating. But it was because he put you there. He moved you, and he told you what either you wanted to hear or what was going on. He always kept you informed. And even though President Reagan had one of the highest approval ratings of any president, he too had to face an assassinator's bullet on March 30th, 1981 at the Washington Hilton. He's getting into his limo, and John Hinckley Jr. used a rifle and hurt 3 people and President Reagan. Now, he didn't hit him directly. It ricocheted off the limo that he was getting into. Now, it shattered a couple ribs and it was right next to his heart, so they had to do the surgery. When asked about this later, he said he wanted to impress Jodie Foster, a child actress at the time. Because I know, when you read the articles of what women want, long walks on the beach, candlelit dinners, and assassinating the president. You read that all the time. As he's on his bed getting ready for the surgery, he looks around the room, sees all the doctors, and says, I hope you all are Republicans. Man, even with a bullet wound, always had something to say. His wife shows up later. Sorry, honey, I forgot to duck. Now, if that had been me, there'd been a second assassination attempt right then and there. The courts reasoned that he was found not guilty on reasons of insanity, and was moved to a mental institution. After his presidency, he decided that him and Nancy had enough of public life. It was time for them. You always can see the famous picture of him and H.W. Bush. H.W. Bush salutes him as he gets on his plane. He waves off and then flies off into the sunset. He retired to his ranch his Bel Air Ranch in California to write his memoirs and travel. He also did a lot of horseback riding and spent time, and you could tell how in love him and Nancy were. And you know what? The 8 years he was president didn't change that at all. Now, that is where this funny and epic story starts to come to an end. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and on November 5th, 1994, he would release a letter going public with it. He would state, I now begin a journey that will lead me into the sunset of my life. It's so sad a man who always knew what to say would lose his words. He died of pneumonia on June the 5th, 2004. He's one of 2 presidents to this day still buried in California. Other fun facts about his presidency, which we've already gone over so many fun facts already, but I feel these ones just needed to hit it home. The Oscars were postponed after his assassination attempt. He couldn't win the Oscar, but you know what? Since you're suffering, we're going to back it up for you so you can actually watch. I'm telling you, man, just salt on the wound. Saw the wound. Believe me, Dutch, I have some problems with the Academy as well. You ain't the only ones. Known for handwriting responses, he loved to write letters. And if you sent a letter to the White House, there's a good chance that Reagan might write you back. He wrote back celebrities, he wrote back children, and he wrote back as many as he could with the time he had. He was also a member of the NRA, but he also encouraged gun control. A Republican encouraged gun control. It can happen, folks. It can happen, and it did. He received free Jelly Belly jelly beans for his entire political career. The Jelly Belly company is in California, and they found out when he was governor that he really loved the jelly beans. So they would always provide jelly beans for the governor. When he went to the White House, they didn't change. They always gave him free jelly beans throughout his entire time in the White House. On Air Force One, they even inserted a cup holder that would fit his jelly beans, so if turbulence happened, his jelly beans would not spill all over Air Force One. He would even, during all White House events, hand out Jelly Belly jelly beans to all his guests. Man liked jelly beans. Knighted by the Queen of England, he's only one of 3 presidents who have been knighted by the Queen. Now, you can either say Mr. President or Sir Ronald Reagan. Our final toast to history. We toast to man Ronald Reagan, 40th President of the United States. The great communicator. This is a man whose words still today echo in American history. And in a world right now where it's red state, blue state, where people will not even reach across the aisle to try and communicate with you, this man reached across an entire ocean and shook hands with Russia. Where are we, America, that we have not realized that the name on the front is more important than the name on the back? This man knew that. And every politician who goes out there should listen to this man's speeches, should read this man's books, and show him what America is all about. Land of opportunity, from actor to president. I heard out there someone was complaining that I was not chugging my beer. And hey, in a nation where we go, we the people, I got to give the people what they want. So, to Ronald Reagan, February 6th, 2021, his birthday. Happy birthday, Dutch. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Now that's good history.